About 25 years ago, one of my daughters had a little rash on her bottom. She was maybe about a year or 2 years old. And being that we were given more to like natural medicine and those type of solutions, we went to a particular physician called an Ayurvedic physician. Ayurvedic is a medicine that has been practiced for 5,000 years. Basically, its roots are in Hinduism, and it comes from southern India typically. There was a third generation Ayurvedic physician who also had a medical degree in the town we were living in, so we went to go visit him. And he diagnosed her. He had made a custom tea for her, and fortunately, everything went well, no issues. But it was so impressive seeing what he did, because what he did was he read her pulse, and from her pulse, he was able to diagnose her. So, being curious, somewhat doubtful, I wanted him to read my pulse and see what he could tell me. So he read my pulse, and he had told me about head injuries as a child. He had told me about my alcohol and drug usage. He had told me about my mental state and where it was at the time. He was so accurate in so many of the things that he said. I was really blown away. But he started the statement. After he read my pulse, he went, "I feel sorry for your wife. You're a tyrant." This came as a shock to me. Now, I didn't really see myself as a tyrant. I saw myself as a generous person who helped people out, was kind, and sort of moving along these lines. Now, looking back 20, 25 years ago, absolutely, I was a tyrant. But I was victim to something I call self-perception deception. I really couldn't see myself for who I was, what I was, and most importantly, how I was treating the people around me. See, I didn't really realize that a lot of the people around me were constantly walking on eggshells. They didn't know if they were going to get the nice, soft, buttery me, or if they were going to get the really sharp-edged, sharp-tacked side of me that was very, very critical. And it took me 2 decades worth of self-analysis, over 2 decades, to reach this point and understand and have the ability to see myself for who I was, who I am, and who I want to be. And what made this possible, so what sort of broke the illusion of this self-perception deception, was relationship. This is why relationship is so important. I feel fortunate that my ex-wife was who she was, because she was patient and tolerant. And while she had her shortcomings and I reflected those back to her, she was able to reflect back to me who I was. And the people who are closest to in our lives, the people who really know us, these are like a mirror. They're a mirror to us to help us see the parts of ourselves that we can't see. You know, if one person says you're a particular way, you can take it with a grain of salt. 2 people say that, maybe they're colluding. But when you have 3 or more people telling you, that know you, that spend a lot of time with you, that you're a particular way, you should listen, even if you don't believe it. This is what happened that day when Dr. Soman, because he was so accurate in so many of the things he had said, he shifted this part inside myself that I just couldn't deny. And I had to take a look and see that I truly was a tyrant. I was someone that I wouldn't live with and I wouldn't have tolerated. I used to think back then, anger was like, I used to think it was my friend. I used to think that it was a tool that got me what I wanted and helped me navigate this hard life. What I've learned is I created my hard life by choosing to do that, by using anger as my tool to be able to navigate through life. I created myself more resistances than I was able to solve. And that's my personal journey. That's how I sort of navigated my younger years and came to unravel that. And we've spoken in previous videos about the horrible childhood that I had that sort of led to this place that led me to believe that anger was the tool. I wish I could go back and change all that. I would have saved myself 30 years of spinning my wheels in the wrong direction for sure. But Instead, I use it as a tool, as a way to remind myself that my self-conscious programming, that sort of those statements we talked in a previous video that we get hypnotized into believing aren't correct. And that awareness that I've gained through being able to reflect through relationship on who I am has enabled me to change who I am, to understand that, I'm nudging myself going, you've been hypnotized. What you've been told about the world, what you were led to believe as a small child isn't true. So self-perception deception. This probably is the most difficult thing for us to get over because we think we know ourselves. And while there's hundreds of biases of the human mind that lead us to the wrong assumptions, such as confirmation bias and many others, we have to be humble enough to realize that we may not know ourselves as well as we think we do. We have to be humble enough to listen to the people who love us and take what they tell us to heart and see if we can recognize those things in ourselves so that we can become not just better people, but better partners, better parents, better coworkers, so that we can improve ourselves, that people want to be around us, want to spend time with us, and want to, let's say, contribute to who we are so we can also contribute to who they are. Self-perception deception. It's a tricky one, and I promise you're guilty of it. We all are, and I still am to this day. If you're not involved in a relationship, which is hard for me to believe, you likely have a parent, a spouse, a friend, a coworker, a boss, someone that you speak to and someone that you reveal things to. And listen to that person. Hear what they're telling you. Don't deny what they're telling you. And if, let's say, that you feel you don't have someone like this in your life, could it be possible that you did and you didn't listen to them? Had I not listened to the people in my life who told me that I was angry and this sort of tyrant type of character, had I not taken what they told me to heart and committed to change, I wouldn't have anybody in my life today. I wouldn't have any mirror to reflect off of. Now, if you find yourself in that situation, it can change. You need to go back, replay what these people were telling you. If you have access to them, go and ask them, hey, obviously I got something wrong about myself. Would you mind sharing with me one more time what I really was to you and what you saw in me that maybe I didn't see in myself? We all have a dark side. The moon, we only see one side of the moon. It's called tidal locking. It's literally locked into that we only see the particular side that we see. That's why we always sort of see that face in the moon when it's in a full moon state. The dark side of the moon you can't see. And just like that, the dark side of our personality, the dark side of who we are, and I don't mean evil side. I mean the side that's blind to us, the side that doesn't get illuminated. We need the sunshine of relationship. We need other people's illumination to help us see that side. Remember, we're all stuck in the matrix. It's your job to find your way out. I hope what we share helps.